Well, thank you very much for being with us today. Before we start, it'd be great if you could please introduce yourself, a little bit about who you are, the company that you operate today.
Thank you for inviting me. Pleasure to be here. My name is Lilia Wernli. I'm the CEO and also co-founder of Maxwer Group, which is an alternative trade financing company, basically replacing the function of some credit insurance and trade finance banks. I come from commodity industry. Before setting up Maxwer, I was in the commodity trading for 20 years. And then finally, 3 years ago, together with my partner, we set up Maxwer Group with a desire to be independent on the one hand, and also we saw this gap in the market, which we based our business model on.
So 3 years you've been operating your own company now.
Absolutely.
And so how many people in your team?
We grew. At the moment, we are 15. So over the last 3 years, we grew from being 4 people into 15. And it's just a start.
And I can imagine it's very delicate at the beginning of setting up your company, your first hires, the people that you bring on, because it's your baby, it's your company, and transmitting the values and the vision to those first employees is essential to set the stage for the future.
It's very interesting you mentioned the word values, because this is what we paid attention to big time. In the hiring process, for us, it's very important that the person we hire, especially in such a small team where everyone is seen, shares our values, the values of our company, as well as brings a profound competency base.
So this is an interesting point. How do you make sure that the candidates share these values? What process have you put in place during the interview stages to make sure that the individual that is in front of you has those same values, or at least envisages to align to those values?
There are 2 main questions, or first questions, which we ask almost every candidate at the first interview. Why are you here? Why have you decided to change the job? Why did you decide to come to the interview here? And second one is especially asked when people are coming from big multinationals or international companies, huge corporates. We ask them, do you understand that working for an entrepreneurial enterprise, literally a startup, is very much different from working for a corporate? We're always giving them an example that in the corporate normally, because I also have the experience of working in a big company, you do your job from here to here, and then you have all support services from the whole corporation. In the startup, in the entrepreneurial company, you have much bigger work responsibility. You do it not from here to here, you do it here. But then it also gives you the opportunity to grow. But this is what my belief is, not that everyone is ready for that, and not that everyone is done for that. There are people who very fairly, they want to have fixed working hours, and they want to know that they know from A to Z and nothing more they can do, because they don't know anything else, and they don't want to know.
So it's all about getting an honest answer from
Absolutely.
the candidate and matching them to your expectations, but also understanding their expectations. In your experience as a hiring manager, how do you drive the conversation to really get what you want to know from the candidate, to feel whether that individual is right for your business?
We let people talk. You ask the question, so some maybe a bit provoking questions. So are you here just because you want to have a salary increase, or your company you worked for, as per your CV, is a very well-established company? What's the reason you are moving? What is missing? And then the question which I also like is, how is your dream job look like? So what is it? What makes you happy? What would make you happy? How could we make you happy should we decide for you?
Yeah, it sounds like you are not shying away from the tough questions, really putting forward courageous conversations so that you can really truly assess whether that individual is there for the right reasons or not.
Oh yes, it's very important. Again, I'm repeating, we are small company. So every individual, every colleague is seen. It's not like in a big corporate where you can be somewhere in the corner and whether you are there or not, maybe not noticed very well. Here, the atmosphere is very important, and we want to have a very friendly, very team atmosphere in the company. And we want that people who join us, they share this drive we have. As you mentioned before, it's our baby. So we want that people also have this drive, this enthusiasm. Oh, let's do that. And this is what exactly, for example, startup is different, yeah? The sky is the limit. You can develop in any direction if you are interested, if you are motivated, if you are eager to learn.
So let's talk about a recent recruitment process. If you have one in mind, how do you structure it? What's normally your timeline from the point of when you decide with your partner that you want to hire a new position to the point of actually finding that person and offering the role? How long does it normally take you to go through that process?
I would say it's anything, depends on the availability. It's anything between 3 and 6 months.
Okay.
And now there are tips which I could give to myself, let's say for 3 years ago. I would say that we should take time. Should not just jump for the first person or for the first candidate who looks, oh, okay, she or he is suitable, should be suitable. It's about taking time. It's about knowing exactly, formulating what you want to find or who you want to find, what he or she should know, what kind of education should have, what kind of experience should have, what should be interested to do, and so on. So it's very important to have a very clear idea of what you want to find.
So how do you balance, in your world, fast-paced startup environment, the need to be fast to find someone to achieve your next goal or your next level of growth, but at the same time taking your time to make sure that you've got the right person, the right skills?
Good question. Probably because you start looking for such a person even before you really, really need him or her. So you think that, okay, we are growing now in 2 months or in 3 months, we would need help in the treasury or we would need help in their operations. And then this is the moment where you start looking. It's not that you start, burying yourself with a lot of work because just you started the process too late.
So once you've identified the need or you're already thinking about that kind of person and the skills and competencies required for that role, when you go out onto the market, what are your expectations from the candidate? Is it someone that's able to do the job now, or is it someone that's going to develop within the organization?
I would say it's both. It's ideally a person. There are no ideal candidates. This is what I want to say. Yeah, they don't exist. We should not look for them. They don't exist. It's someone who can do the job now, because this is how you cover your current needs, but it's also the person who is eager to learn. Because in the startup, I would probably say it's not correct to hire someone who has the base, he or she who can do the current responsibilities, but not interested and not motivated, not really eager to grow.
From a point of view of, again, judging the individual values, fit, etc., do you have a policy in your company about interview process? Is it face-to-face? Is it online? How do you prefer to engage with your candidates?
Face-to-face. We strongly insist that candidates, even if they come from another country or from another city, we do it face-to-face. It's one thing, and also thing which I learned over the years, you should meet the person 2 or better even 3 times. Because it's surprising how the opinion can change, both sides, positive and negative, after the second or the third meeting.
Absolutely.
That's very important.
So let's talk about a specific recruitment process, and let's make it a little bit interesting. Let's talk about a recruitment process that you feel did not match your expectations. Okay, maybe one that failed in terms of timeline or in terms of the candidates that you received, or maybe even a refused offer. Is there a particular process that you can remember that did not go the way that you want, and why?
I can remember such a process, and it was absolutely our own mistake. And this is the fact which I mentioned before: meet people 2 or 3 times and have a larger pool of candidates to look. Take time. Don't jump for the first one. We had a case where we really we were impressed by the CV, we were impressed by the companies the person worked for, had one meeting, and then after that we decided to take the person. Mm-hmm. Though we were strongly recommended by the recruitment company to have a look at the others. But you look through the CVs and say, oh no, I don't like him, or don't like her. And this is exactly what's absolutely not right. Mm-hmm. So 1 year later, we have to let the person go.
Okay.
Because it simply did not work.
And it did not work from what perspective? Was it a skills issue? Was it a cultural issue? Was it a communication mindset?
It was both. It was both, where their skills were lacking or not to the level which we expected them to be. And it was no value sharing. The person had absolutely different values, as it turned out later.
If you could have gone back in history, what would you have changed in that process to get to a successful conclusion?
I would take time. Again, I'm repeating it now again and again. I would take time and look at 20 candidates, shortlisting 5 of them, and go into the 2nd, 3rd, 4th interview with 3 of them.
Do you not feel that it's a risk taking so much time that you may lose the engagement of certain candidates? How do you perceive that, and how do you continue to make sure that the candidates are invested in the process over such a long period?
Oh, it doesn't mean, when I'm talking about 6 months or 3 to 6 months, I'm not saying that we start there interviewing one person on day X and then let him or her wait for another 3 or 6 months. It means that you are going for, at the beginning, you are going for quantity. And then out of this quantity, you select quality. And then this quality pool, if you don't like someone, or if the person doesn't match, you simply give a negative answer already at the beginning of the process.
That's very important to be clear with your candidates and give them clear feedback on whether they match or not.
Another thing which I wanted to mention is, which also I learned, don't be driven by your biases. It can be about age, it can be about it's a woman or a man, or you think, oh, this job can only be done by a woman. Or the person is now over 50, he or she cannot be so much motivated. These are biases which we have, but they should not be the basis for decision making.
How do you overcome them?
Recognizing them, acknowledging I have this bias, and then instead of looking at the CV and just my example, seeing that the person is over 50, anyway, meet him or her. And again, you will be, there are cases when you are just surprised what comes out.
Fantastic. Let's talk about a great recruitment process. Is there one in mind recently where, the whole recruitment process A to Z was efficient, it went really well, you found the candidate, and this individual is still within the company and delivering to expectations?
Over the last, as I already mentioned, over the last 3 years, we grew from 4 people to 15. And the people which we hired actually with your company 2 years ago, they're still with us. We are very happy about them. And this was the process where we went through a lot of candidates, and it was we asked all these questions, which I mentioned before, why are you here? So why we are different? We are smaller than your previous company. What is your motivation to come here?
So really being able to drill down into the motivation.
To drill down, to meet people several times, to make sure that you still have the same impression about them after several meetings.
Do you ever do any recruitment by yourself? Without partners directly?
It happens only when someone we know personally and you know what to expect. Okay. Or someone was recommended by, let's say, one of our colleagues, and we go into the interview and we see that it
Do you find you apply the same process, whether it's a candidate coming, direct or from one of your partners?
I hope so, but I cannot exclude that these biases take place as well. Yeah, because when someone is recommended or someone you immediately think more positive, of course. Yes. Then I personally find that hiring from the market or from it's more objective, because then you really look at the process, go through the whole process, ask all the right questions, and they are also not afraid or not hesitant to say no if something doesn't work.
I understand. And so your company in trade finance, in the trading world, what advice would you have out there to candidates interested in this sector to get into this world, to develop a career?
You mean the ones who don't have yet the experience in this sector, or the ones who are coming from companies having to do with commodities already?
Both. What would you recommend to them on how to approach the industry, how to apply for jobs, how to find opportunities?
I would say first, it's important to define for yourself, for the candidate, why do you want to go into that industry? Because a lot of them think, I assume, that commodity means money, traveling, big money, see the world. What they forget about is the other side of the business. Commodity runs 24/7, means you cannot have this very strict 8 to 5 working hours, for 8 morning, 5 in the evening. You have to, it doesn't have to be, but you need to be ready that there are cases when you receive a call at night. If you know both sides of the commodity business, then you can approach. Show your enthusiasm, show why are you interested, show that you want to give more. This is my belief. A good employer will always value your desire, your willingness to give, rather than sitting and waiting till I get something and then maybe I will give.
Very good advice. And
show, and one more, I'm sorry to interrupt you, and also try to convince the employer, why are you better than your competitors? Why? So why should we hire you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, fantastic advice. Thank you. I'm sure it's very valuable for the candidates out there. And I'd like to ask you the same question as a client and as a employer. What advice do you have for other, entrepreneurs or leaders of companies that are looking to grow and develop at an early stage of the business's life cycle, where, the first few hires are critical to the success of the business?
Trust your guts. That's very important, because whatever is written in the CV or whatever previous experience the candidate might have had, the guts, this is your impression of the person, is very much important. It's very seldom fails you.
That's interesting. So it's not always about the skills, it's whether I can work with this person, whether I trust this person.
It's both. You cannot have someone without the skills and assign the work which he or she is not able to do because he or she doesn't know how to do. But it's also skills without the personality. The personality trait is also not very convenient to work with, the combination. And again, since we're talking about entrepreneurial business, I would say take people who know why they want to work for the startup, who realize all the pros and cons of the process, who realize all the advantages and disadvantages, and they still want to do that, and don't have the false expectations about working for a startup.
Very interesting. And are there any trends in the market, in the talent market, that you've seen recently post-COVID that you struggle to deal with and manage?
And not really struggle to deal with and manage, but the questions which we get during the interview, and I will be very unpopular probably in the current world. We have people who ask, "Is home office allowed?" And we say no. We experienced home office during COVID times. We don't believe in the home office, especially in the phase of the growing company, where you have to build the team, where the team has to communicate. And this is where I personally, at least in our sphere or in our size of the company, I don't believe in home office. And this is where we have to say, sorry, but no.
Yeah, I understand. At the end of the day, it's your baby. You want to make sure that the people are working together, being productive, efficient, communicating, sharing information.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's been fascinating speaking to you, and I really appreciate your feedback about the market and your experiences as a client in recruitment. And I'm sure that there's lots of value that will be taken by this from our audience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.